Good to go, Ray.
All right. Do you guys need to do the lead in with the,
Correct.
Yep. This is a web-based call, so we are operating under the following procedures. This session is being audio recorded. Please be advised that today we are also recording the video of the proceedings. We will not use the chat feature in this meeting. To ensure sound quality, the default rule for this meeting is that everyone will remain on mute. Commissioners and staff will generally remain on mute except when speaking or voting. This meeting is open to the public, but it is not a public hearing. Therefore, no members of the public may speak unless specifically invited to do so. If a member of the public creates an audio or video disruption, they may be manually ejected from the meeting upon the recommendation of staff or the chair. We appreciate your attendance at this meeting. Should you have any questions about this process, you may call our staff at 860-444-5813 after the meeting has ended.
all right, thank you. I'd like to call the August 26, 2021 meeting of the Conservation Commission to order. Let the record reflect, we do have a quorum. We don't have any alternates present, so none need to be
Yeah,
seated.
We have two, Ray. We have Ivy and we have Julie. They can sit for Rich and
All
Dave.
right, so Julie could sit for Richard, and Ivy, if you could sit for David.
Okay,
Moving on to item number 2, approval of the August 12th, 2021 meeting minutes.
I make a motion to approve the August 12th meeting minutes.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Do we have a second on the meeting minutes?
I second Julie,
Oh.
please.
Aye.
Seconded by Julie. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, application review, C-21-08, 908 Hartford Turnpike, multifamily development, Cohansey Partners LP, applicant, Estate of Constant Rice, owner, and Summerhill Civil Engineers is the agent. I'd like to turn the meeting, I guess, over to Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Mike Ott. I'm a licensed professional engineer and land surveyor with Summerhill Civil Engineers and Land Surveyors in Madison, Connecticut. With me tonight is Sagan Simcoe, our wetland scientist and soil scientist from BL Companies, and Harold Foley and Quandra Swayze both from the development team. So I think you've heard an explanation of the project, I think now a couple of times at the last 2 meetings. I think if it makes sense, Mr. Chairman, Maureen, I would just to say that we believe we have addressed Maureen's staff review comments. We submitted a written response and hopefully you've all seen that. In addition, we were also able to do some things that were, one other thing actually that was suggested, I believe, by the chairman, the current chairman, in the last meeting, and that was to add a hydrodynamic separator structure in line in the stormwater management system prior to discharge to the infiltration basin. So I'd be glad, and actually, Katrina, if you could, if it's possible, if you could switch to the next sheet or maybe scroll down to the next sheet. And if you could zoom in on kind of the below the right-hand building, if that works, yeah, that's great. So I think the biggest thing, I believe, the biggest comment was we were asked if we could move the outlet of the stormwater management system from where we had it, where stormwater would discharge right at the water course boundary on the right-hand side where Katrina is showing her cursor. If we could move it over to the opposite side, right up against the community building so that the discharge and the activity required to construct the outlet would be 50 feet or greater from the inland wetland boundary. We were able to do that. The red line represents a 50-foot offset from the watercourse and wetland boundary. And as you can, I think you should be able to see the stormwater outlet just to the right of the community building. And yep, Katrina's got her cursor right on it. So we were able to relocate that outlet. And then, as I said, we were also able to add a hydrodynamic separator, that little circle, yep, right there. That's great. We were able to add that also, and the elevations worked out. I was concerned because we have 4 different pipes that cross each other, and I had to make sure that they would cross each other without any interference, and they do work.
Don't worry about it. Make it work in the field, you know?
There you go. Right? So I believe we've addressed again the requests made at the last meeting by the commission members, as well as Maureen's staff comments. Another big comment was to pull the limits of pull the sediment control barrier back away from the wetland as much as we could, and right up against the grading, and we've been able to do that also. So unless you'd like me to go through each of Maureen's comments in detail, I think that kind of summarizes where we are, and be glad to answer any additional questions that you might have.
Okay, well, thank you for the summary and thank you for modifying it. I think this is a significant step forward and much more palatable as far as I'm concerned. Do any commission members have any questions? Any commission members have questions?
Julie here. Is there a plan to mark the wetland boundaries anywhere? I imagine people will want to wander around that very nice property behind their buildings.
I would think that, you know, as this commission knows, that's a pretty common request to set permanent markers. And I would think that that would not be an issue at all if the commission would like to make that a condition of approval. We could always work out the details with Maureen. I know every town and commission has different ways they would like it done, and we'd be glad to do it however you'd like, and use the proper identification placards, whatever the town of Waterford standard is. Be glad to do that.
All right. Is that something you think we put on the trees in the area, or is it probably pretty wooded, right? It's going to be wooded, I would think.
It is. What I found is it's kind of best to try to do it in the field. Sometimes it'll work perfect where it could go on a tree. Sometimes you've got to set a wood post.
Yeah, if you got to do a 4x4 post or something. Yeah.
Yeah. We just did this in the town of Guilford, some 120 or so markers. So I just, in that recent experience, I found that it's probably best to try to make that decision in the field. And we could do that with Maureen. Let me, and make sure she's in agreement.
All right. Thank you.
Great.
Any
thanks.
other questions from the commission?
Ivy Bliss here. I'd like to know, how does this hydraulic separator work?
So it's a manufactured, it's basically a concrete manhole, standard precast concrete manhole, but inside it, the manufacturer has components that provide a swirl technology. I'm sure you've heard this term before, where the stormwater is directed around to create a swirling motion. And there's certain baffles and filters within the structure that force floatables and larger debris to go into the sump, and larger sediment to go into the sump, so that they won't leave the leave the structure and be discharged, as well as there's components that trap hydrocarbons floating in the stormwater, and trap those in the structure. And then that structure is maintained periodically, and that sediment and material are removed and properly disposed of.
Okay, thank you.
That maintenance It's Julie here again. That maintenance was part of your proposed maintenance plan, the overall plan.
You know, as soon as you started to ask that question, I realized that I forgot to add the maintenance because we added the hydrodynamic separator. I gave Maureen a revised operation and maintenance plan and completely forgot to mention it, but I will add that. I will
Thank
add.
Any other questions from commission members? Hearing none. Maureen, do you feel all the comments have been addressed satisfactorily?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. The revisions had just come in on Tuesday. And I've been working back and forth with Mike on getting that finalized. So what I did I'm sorry it wasn't in your packet because I just finished it today. But I put together some findings and considerations for the commission's decision on the finding that really they've responded to all the staff comments, the commission requests and comments. So this is in the file. Even Mike doesn't have it yet. Sorry, it's just hot off the press. But in terms of going forward, if that's what the commission wishes to do, I thought it would be important to have the findings and considerations documented in the file. So these are the regulated activities: clearing and excavation adjacent to wetlands and discharge of treated stormwater. Mike already summarized the application submittals of 8/24. I think it was important to note he also added notes to the plan sheets to protect the infiltration basin from construction impacts. And the treatment train provides a high level of pollutant renovation because we have removal of solids, we have removal of hydrocarbons. We have the first treatment in the train is infiltration, which will help with any dissolved solids, including metals. And then that goes to the subsurface detention, which also has a infiltration capacity before it discharges to now a 50-foot vegetated forest buffer before it ever reaches the wetland. So based on these revisions, staff put together some findings and consideration for the commission's consideration. I think of primary importance is that the site design is consistent with the recommendations of the Jordan Brook Watershed Management Plan for stormwater treatment, for the groundwater recharge element, which is accomplished through the infiltration basin, and providing a permanent wetland vegetated buffer distance of minimum of 50 feet and up to places 100 or more feet. 2, there's no direct impacts to wetlands or water courses proposed with this application. And I believe that the commission agrees that potential indirect impacts have been mitigated through the stormwater treatment design. And most importantly, the applicant has adopted alternatives into the design to reduce the proximity of the development to the inland wetlands and water courses.
So at this time, I guess, would you be comfortable with going to a draft if the commission is so inclined?
Well, actually, I'm ready to go to permit if you are. I mean, based upon these above considerations, a permit can be issued with the following special conditions, which I've already prepared for your review if you'd like.
Sure.
I'm just, my concern is that with the holiday coming up, I might not have a quorum for the next meeting. So
All right. Yeah.
if you guys are okay, I'd like to review these with you. We can add some if you'd like, but we've already addressed some of the stuff that we've already talked about. Primary importance, the plan revisions of 8/24 are incorporated into the final plan set. That the temporary diversion berm that's in the note proposed around the infiltration basin, we should add that to the final erosion and sediment control plan sheet, so it's identified on the sheet as well. As staff had recommended, and I believe Mr. Thomas has concurred, a minimum of 2 field permeability tests should be conducted by the engineer or your contractor in the infiltration basin location to demonstrate the infiltration rate and identify if any amendments to the soils are necessary to achieve the performance as an infiltration component. And then Julie, we're right on track. Would be staff's recommendation that one of the permit conditions that the limit of permanent clearing and disturbance identified in the final plan is the wetland non-encroachment boundary. And per our regulations, that means no activity including but limited to clearing, grading, filling, removal of vegetation, shall be conducted within that area without specific authorization from the commission. And the purpose of this non-encroachment area is to protect the inland wetland resources from direct and indirect impacts associated with the land development. And number 5, the wetland non-encroachment boundary shall be located in the field prior to the start of site clearing and approved by your agent. Following construction, the non-encroachment boundary shall be permanently marked at 50-foot intervals with identification markers provided by the commission affixed to trees or 4x4 wooden posts. One of the special conditions I recommend is that the stormwater infiltration basin be completed and the soil surface is stabilized prior to receiving the site stormwater runoff. Remember, this is an infiltration basin. It really needs to be vegetated and protected from construction runoff. And then that the subsurface detention basin and infiltration basin be inspected by the engineer during construction so we can verify the as-built conditions, material types, depths, permeability, etc. And as we always require in the end, an as-built survey of the stormwater system components shall be submitted to the commission with a written verification that the system was constructed in accordance with the approved design plans. And we require that to be submitted prior to the issuance of any certificates of completion or compliance for the project. I hope I hit them all. We have our standard conditions about notifications and the ENS controls. But I know these are new to you, Mike, as well, but they're really for the commission's consideration. Should you wish to go to a motion to accept the findings and the special conditions as presented in my 826 memo.
All right, how do the commission members feel about this?
I think the applicant's done a great job in mitigating the impact on the wetlands. I think it's a very thorough plan. I was out there today and I could see pretty much how this is going to work. And I think we should go to permit with including the conditions as set forth by the staff.
All right, thank you, Ivy. Any other comments?
I think it's a great revised plan and I'm comfortable going to permit as well.
I am
Anybody
also, it's
else?
very comprehensive.
Okay. So I guess, I'll,
Second.
you know,
We have a second.
motion to go to permit then.
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Very thorough presentation and good site development plan, Mike. Good seeing you.
Good, you too, Wade. I hope to see
Take
you.
care of yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Maureen, for your help.
You're welcome.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Welcome.
All right, moving on to item number 4, new applications. Do we
Well,
have
yeah,
any
no.
new ones?
We have not received any new applications and I'm not aware of any pending right now.
All right. Item number 5, payment of bills. We have one for the Arbor Day Foundation in the amount of $20.
Yeah, the commission has been a long-term annual supporter of the Arbor Day Foundation. It's in our budget for agent support and memberships.
All right, would anyone like to make a motion to pay this?
Can I first I have a question? That seems like such a minimal contribution from a large organization such as a town. Just curious, what is the $20 and is it worth considering? Too late for this year's budget, but stepping that up a bit? That's like, seems to me like an individual contribution.
It's their standard minimum contribution. We
It's a
get
standard, yeah.
4 newsletters from them, and with that $20, they send you 5 trees. And I always say, keep the trees and plant them, you know, somewhere on one of your other places. They have a lot of good programs, and $20, I mean, I know it seems like a little bit, but they're a fairly large art organization. They welcome it every time. They never ask for more.
Well, thanks for explaining more.
Thank you, Maureen. Okay, so, someone make a motion to pay the bill then, please?
I make a motion to pay the Arbor Day Bill Foundation of $20.
Do I have a
I
second?
second it.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions, motion carries. And then moving on to item number 6, adjournment.
Okay,
Anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
No, sure.
Motion by Ivy, second, please. Do I have
I
a second?
second Julie.
Second by Julie. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you all very much.
Oh, hold
Thank
on,
you.
Hold on a second, you guys.
hold on. Let me just.